rainy Sunday afternoon, and everyone else is cozy inside watching TV, and you guys brave the elements to come out here and support David. And also, you're probably curious about what he's up to. Everyone's curious about it.
Yes, it's a curious thing.
Thank you for coming out. Wonderful to see you all. It's like family and some friends I haven't seen in a while as well. So here we are, the last day of the show. We've had a wonderful run with David Fullarton. This is the second solo show he's had with us. He's been in some group shows too, and we're constantly kind of representing his work in between shows as well. We have his work online, and we sell his prints regularly, and we also just hang out in the studios and have fun.
Yes, we do.
Make projects. Bronzes, we did a little edition of bronzes. We kind of work with them on some printmaking editions as well. We do laser cut blocks of wood, and so a lot of experimental things we're playing around with the studios. We get to interact with David with and have fun with it. So I don't know, we have a really kind of a unique, fun relationship as far as gallery artist works. It's not just that. So I don't know. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me too.
Yeah. We wish that we were what we once were back when we wanted to be what we are now. It's the title of the show.
Yes, it is.
It's a mouthful. There's a lot of W's in there. He was going to letterpress some posters with that phrase, but we didn't have enough W's in the collection.
Yeah, so I had to hand cut it on a piece of lino because I didn't have the W's.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the posters over there. Those are hand cut, David. So he David not only works obviously with painting and collage work, and he's pretty mean with a pencil, but he does a lot of letterpress and printmaking, linoleum cuts and whatnot. Yeah. So we're going to be kind of casual about it. I'm going to ask David some questions, and if you guys have any thoughts during the talk on, hey, you're just really curious about how this guy works or why he does this, or questions about a particular piece, pipe up, just raise your hand. We're here, it's casual. So we'll start with what's with the title? Where did that come from?
The title, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the text from all the pieces, I just keep stuff. I've got books full of phrases that I write down. I just keep all that stuff, and I kind of just have that stuff there, and then when I see images, I can put the two together. And that was just something that I'd had forever, and I couldn't think of anything that would visually that would ever go with it. And I ended up, like you said, I wanted to do a print of it just as a phrase, because I kind of really like the phrase. It's like you have to really read it a few times to even understand what it means, which I quite like. And it's sort of like a tongue twister, and I really like all those W's too. So that was, and then after I did the print, it was like about 3 or 4 weeks before the show, I entered a title for the show because the show doesn't really have like a theme or anything really. So I just thought it would be a really good title for the show, partly because it's really unwieldy and hard to read. It's just like the opposite of what the title for a show is supposed to be. So that was part of the reason why it was chosen.
I can kind of relate to what you're saying.
Right.
Does anybody else relate to that? Right? Yeah? Okay, a lot of it. There's something about striving to be that person you wanted to be. Hopefully, you're where you want to be, but then at the same time, you're not striving to be where you wanted to be.
And it works because it's very personal thing, but it's also, I think it speaks about sort of where society is as well. It's more of a kind of bigger picture. So I think that was sort of applicable to both the personal and the larger picture as well.
Universal.
Yeah.
So you obviously like to write.
I don't actually like to write at all. I hate writing.
Really?
I've unfortunately been good at it since I was young. And I've made a living doing it, but it's not the thing I hate. I enjoy drawing and painting much more than I've ever enjoyed writing.
But you bring the
but I have
into the pieces.
That's not a question. I have.
We're streaming live too, you guys. If you're wondering why this little thing is there, it's a camera, so it goes to our website, and folks can watch it. And we also record it. That's why we were running around fussing with trying to make it work for you folks, as well as just to record it for posterity. So words.
Words. So I don't know. I like words. I hate writing. I don't like writing stuff. Yeah.
So you're not writing short stories on the side?
No. I mean, these are the short stories. They're like little excerpts, and you make up the rest of it. That's kind of as far as it goes. That's the amount of writing that I like to do. One small phrase.
Concept.
That's
or
right.
phrase.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the rest of it's a chore.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what you do with copywriting.
It is. I work as a copywriter too.
And
So there's work. That's
sure.
not enjoyable.
Yeah, sure.
It's just what you do for a living.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm lucky because I'm good. I'm naturally kind of good at it without having to work at it.
Yeah, obviously. 'Cause there's a whole room full of new pieces. These were all created latter part of 2015.
Yeah, because this time last year I actually broke my wrist.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing any of that.
That's right. It was all kind of after
A
that,
couple of
wasn't
months. So yeah, so pretty much the last 9, 10 months that everything has been done.
So it's all pretty recent work, and there's a lot of it. And it's not just, there's a lot of drawings or a lot of sculptures or anything like that. There's a lot of content. I mean, there's a lot of writing as well and thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this content is, as I said, I've got like this stuff, a lot of that stuff's already existing, I've got that written down, and I just go back and fish stuff out. So, but yeah, the actual creating the pieces, putting the words and the pictures together, that's where it all comes. Yeah, so that's been the last 10 months.
Yeah. His first solo show he had was the Apology series. I don't know.
Great show.
Yeah, wasn't that a good show?
I loved it.
I loved it.
It was so funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Of course, I just think
Thank you.
it's really funny.
It was themed.
That was kind of
You know,
thing.
it was
I haven't had a
politics
theme because I
throughout.
was kind of stuck, so I was like, I came up with an idea to try and get me to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And it worked. But this has just been a continual, just doing stuff.
This is the open-ended psyche of David Fullarton. Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah. So the apology thing worked because it was easier for me to do that too, because you had like a formula and you just kind of did that stuff. It got a bit boring. It did work.
Yeah. I have a couple notes here. I just wanted to make sure. So with all this work, I mean, I was really surprised when he came to deliver the show. Artists that you've worked with for a long time as a gallerist or curator, you don't have to worry about the next show as much as maybe somebody you're just freshly working with, because you're like, people turn on a dime. You know, an artist will often be like, you'll come to them with an idea, and he goes, hey, we really like what you're doing. Let's show your work. And then all of a sudden they want to do something fresh and new, and it's totally off the mark of what you thought it was. We've been working with David a while. We knew what he was up to, so we were keeping tabs on what he was up to somewhat, but he just kind of showed up, and then he was like, hey guys, here it is.
Right.
And we knew it would be fabulous. So you're very prolific.
I don't feel like I'm prolific, but I guess when we got here, it seemed like there was a lot of work.
Yeah, we're like, holy cow,
so
we built a
surprised.
gallery, you know?
Yeah.
It's not a huge gallery, but for the scale of your work,
Yeah.
it's kind of big. So you made a lot of pieces. There's like almost 50 pieces, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there must be something driving you. I mean, there's something that drives every artist, right? What's motivating you to make these works?
I don't know, I just do it. I mean, that's just like what you do, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not like I've got some mission to
Yeah, but you sit down every
but
day.
you just do it every day.
Yeah,
It's what I like to do. That's
Yeah.
what I enjoy doing. I don't have like some sort of
Which is-
rationale behind it. It's just, I mean, that's what I enjoy doing more than anything else. So that's
Yeah.
why I do it. And, I mean, it's how I make sense of the world as much as it's possible
Yeah,
to do that.
sure,
and
exactly.
the way things are right now, but you know, I mean, that's kind of what I do. It's just, I don't really.
Sounds fun. I mean, you're not just drawing for the sake of drawing. Like, I enjoy drawing still lifes or
Yeah,
flowers. I mean, you
I
have
know.
something to say. So
Yeah.
obviously it's a way of,
I mean, that's like that whole use of words and pictures is just how it's just naturally how I do stuff. I've always done that since a kid.
yeah.
I've always done, whether it was cartoons or just I've always kind of put words and pictures together as a sort of thing. So I guess that's where the motivation is. I do occasionally do drawings with no words in them, and they're always terrible, so I don't ever use them. So, I mean, that's
Nice.
just how it works out.
There's is there any particular reason you enjoy working humor into your work? Because every piece is humorous. I don't think there's one that's like, he wasn't trying to be funny on that one. It's like every single one.
Laugh out loud art.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
Yeah, I know, I
mean,
love it.
Isn't that
I love it.
totally rare? It's interesting having watching the gallery. It's the only show I've ever had where people are laughing out loud. It's pretty funny. I think I've told you that before, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I use
Yeah.
it. I think humor is good. Humor is really disarming. I think you can get. I think humor can be serious. I think it's a serious thing, but I think it's a good way to break down people's inhibitions about something, or like get around people's prejudices about things if you're funny about it, and you can make a serious point by being funny. It's just a natural, I don't know, I think part of it is being Scottish, is like part of being slightly dark and irreverent about things. It's just sort of how you are. It's, you make jokes about things.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, that's part of how people cope with life in Scotland. It's isn't always a barrel of laughs. So you kind of have to make it a barrel of laughs. If that makes sense, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, that's a very natural way for me to, and it's part of it is also is like, if I like to use words, and if I think if I use words in a really serious way, I'd feel really odd and pretentious to do that. Whereas I find it easier to be funny.
Yeah, sure.
And still try and make a point.
I mean, artists often have, or writers often have a message, and they have something to say, but they don't know how to say it without just being obnoxious or pretentious or gloomy. So you found a way to communicate to the world.
To do all of those things, but still be funny.
Exactly.
That was the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Obnoxious, pretentious, gloomy. It's all there.
It's also just a really great way of looking at the psyche of the American people. I don't know if it would be the same as the psyche of the Scottish people, for example, but I talked to you before about this last time with the I'm sorry, and you know, you kind of explained, well, everyone's always sorry in Scotland. You come to America, nobody gives a, you know, and so it's like two different sort of, you know, heads of space of how you relate to things. But some of the things here are like so indicative of our sort of self-obsessed culture, which I said, I don't know if the people are like that in Scotland, because people are a lot more global than they used to be.
They are, yeah, definitely, that's true.
But you really nail so much of things that go through people's brains in a sort of really funny, sick way. I just absolutely love it.
That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
and most people resonate with these pieces here. They're like, yeah, I've had that situation. I feel that way as well. So you're touching.
I mean, that's really the best thing I could possibly get out of that. If someone sees something and they laugh because they recognise there's the truth in that, then that's really what, I mean, to me, that's what good humour should be about. It's like you laugh because you recognise the truth.
Yeah.
Like, that's for me, because that's a different way I hadn't really thought about that, and I recognise that is. Which is, I mean, to me, what art should be about, sort of, too. I mean, it shouldn't be about anything particularly, but one of the things it should be about is it should be about truths, and if you can do it in a funny way and entertaining way, as opposed to being bashing people over the head and stuff, and telling them they should enjoy culture.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. One of the first things I noticed when this work came in, not that the other work wasn't complex, but a lot of these pieces seem really developed, and you really got dived into them, almost as, like say that piece over there, the gentleman with the cocktail glass. Without even reading it and standing afar, you don't have to read it to get the gist of the piece. It stands alone nicely as just a composition, as an abstract composition. So I had noticed that with several of the pieces there. You really dive into it. You feel like you kind of
I think the stuff it just sort of happens. I don't know. I think it's because I'm getting old, and it just I've got more patience than I used to have. I used to trash stuff out more and I'd be like happy with it, and now I tend to just really keep working things over and over, and I kind of enjoy doing that too. So there's I'm more patient about stuff, but I'm also probably pushing myself a little bit more to make things a little bit more complex, but just visually complex. Yeah, I don't know. Things just evolve, you know. It's not like I'm sitting there and thinking, I'm going to make this more complicated now, but it's just the way it kind of works out. And it's sort of like when you do something you're not happy with it, you just keep going, and then for me it just seems to get more complicated. Probably it should get simpler, but it doesn't. It just gets more complicated.
The way you work is interesting. You want to talk about that and what's going on, the process, the rough process of how you put a piece together?
Because usually the first question people ask is which comes first, the words or the pictures. So I mean, I guess the words kind of come first because I've got a bunch of words, but very often I'll start drawing a picture and then try and figure out the way. There's not really a process, because other times I'll actually have a phrase and then I'll find an image and I'll put the two together, and then it's weird. It's almost like I something know when something's right, but I can't like figure it out until I've done it. It's like it's just a tortuous process to go through to get to that point. And then something will change too. There's the one in the wall over there, the one about being mauled by a tiger. I mean, originally that was a completely different person in that picture, and I did the whole thing, and then the guy didn't look like he was mauled, someone you wanted to be mauled by a tiger. Then I had to find somebody else who really did want to be mauled by a tiger. So that just kind of it worked like that, and it's just that's the way it, you know. Eventually it clicks, but sometimes it takes a while to do that. And it's hard, you know. Sometimes I will just draw a picture, and then while I'm doing it, I'll try and think of I kind of memorize a lot of the stuff, and I'll know which is going to work and which isn't going to work. And then sometimes I'll actually write something to go with the picture, or I'll adapt a phrase that I had, change a few words, and just make it work. And then, I mean, visually, as far as like drawing stuff goes, that doesn't really ever. I mean, I just start doing it, and it kind of grows, and it's basically sticking things down on bits of card and ripping them off again and putting them back down again until I get somewhere that is not really like a scientific process.
Anytime I find old office supplies, I put them in David's locker.
It's great. I get some brilliant stuff.
So, yeah. If you have notebooks or ledgers, send them to this guy.
Anything.
Like your, I've been keeping track all along piece.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that a good piece?
That came from an old ledger that it's filled with. I think it's someone's like record of their car, or they wrote down the mileage and the oil and the gas and everything. And half the book's that, and in the back of it was baseball scores, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Those are baseball scores.
No, those are the ones from the front of the book, but the baseball scores are at the back of the book. You also got bored looking at his cars.
You like to keep track of things.
Yeah.
Somebody did.
He did, obviously. Yeah.
The cell phone pieces?
Yeah, the cell phone pieces were, that was weird. I was just, my son's school needed an iPad repaired, and we went down to the local guy who does that stuff. There's a few of them in my neighborhood for some reason. And I saw the guy just had a stack of old broken screens. And when I went back to pick him up, I just asked the guy, he thought I was completely mental. I asked him what he did with them, and he's told me that he recycled them. So I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure he just throws them out. But so I asked him if I could have a few, and he didn't really want to give them to me, because I think he was scared I was going to cut myself or something. But anyway, he gave me four.
Sounds like
reluctantly gave me four, and I tried to explain what I was going to do, but he wasn't really that interested. And I don't know. It just occurred to me that it's, you know, I mean, obviously there's a lot of images going on there. People in phones, people outside of phones, cracked things. I mean, I don't need to spell all that stuff out, but it just seemed like it was.
Yeah, I think you should rip on it, especially considering we all spend so much time staring at the phone.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to stick a pencil drawing.
And they actually looked at it, just visually, it came out really well. I wasn't sure that it was going to work, but it did come out really well.
Yeah. I'll start sending cell phone.
Yeah, if you find any cracks.
Cell phones.
Along with all the bits of paper.
Yeah, exactly. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions about Mr. David?
No questions too stupid.
So are the phrases things that you've made up or things you've gathered?
So there's a kind of combination of stuff. A lot of them are just things that I've come out with. I mean, they just sort of pop into my head sometimes. It's probably a frightening thought. And then some of them are like stuff that I'll read somewhere, and then usually that starts off something else. So I'll find a phrase and I'll think, okay, that's a phrase that I can use, and then I'll kind of adapt. I'll write it down, but then I'll kind of work it and adapt it later on. So kind of like change it to make it more either relevant or just more what I want it to be. But a lot of them start out with reading something, and then I'll kind of add something to it or change it. And some of them just come fully formed into it.
The copywriter in you.
I guess it is, although I find that quite hard to come up with the copyright stuff, whereas these just kind of like pop in. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure you do, yes.
I'm curious about the people. Because
Right.
I've always looked at your stuff and seen those people, and I always felt like I'd seen them before or something. You know, they're sort of like familiar.
Right.
Particularly like that before the internet series. I feel like those are all the people I grew up with. And where do you?
They might well be, because all those before the internet people they all come from old yearbooks. They're all from, and they're all like really small, and then I kind of blow them up. But then they get all pixelated, you can't really see them properly. But they are all pretty much, because people look so weird in old yearbooks. They look really bizarre. I really hope they didn't actually look like that in real life.
This was before the internet. People didn't exist before the internet.
Yeah, so that's where those came from. I mean, generally, they just come from. I used to spend quite a lot of time. There's a thing you can do on Flickr where you can, like, randomly look at whatever anyone's uploading at any given moment, and there's like thousands of photographs, and there's no editing or anything, so you just get all the shit that people are uploading, and that is fascinating, and you get some really interesting, and it's people's just weird snapshots and stuff like that. So I used to spend quite a lot of time grabbing stuff from that, although I hear Flickr's going under now. So, and then some of the stuff is I got a lot of old magazines from like 40s all the way to like the 60s and 70s, and finding a lot of this, like the guy in that picture over there was like a really small guy who was in the back of a photograph of somebody else in a dinner party or something like that. And there's a famous person at the front of the shot, he was in the back of the shot, but he was perfect. So, you know, he just find stuff. And I guess it's the same as I just kind of recognize something that I like. There's like, okay, that's, I don't know why, but it's just
usually mildly awkward as well.
They usually are.
There's
a
a lot
sort of awkwardness, strangeness to them. I mean, those guys came from a yearbook as well.
It looks like a yearbook photo. Fred, did you have a question?
I would just want, David, where are you going next? Do you have a project you're working on right now?
I mean, part of the reason I find this sort of talk really hard to do is I don't really have like it's just a continual thing. So I just keep going, and it just evolves gradually. I mean, I haven't doing that apologies thing. That was kind of unusual for me to actually sit down and go like, right, I'm going to do a project of this is what I'm going to do. I generally just keep going and do the next one and then the next one, and stuff gradually changes. I mean, I might do some more of the cell phone ones, although I don't know. I mean, sometimes you push things and you're like, I'm kind of over that now. I don't really want to do it. So I don't know. I just keep going, and something will occur to me, and some stuff won't work out, and I'll throw it away, and some other stuff will go, and I'll go in that direction, and that's just kind of how it goes. I don't have a master plan for life or anything.
Artisanal fly swatter.
Artisanal fly swatter is the next thing we're making right here.
Artisanal fly swatter.
Yep.
Watch for it.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Keep going down that.
Handcrafted.
Handcrafted. Exactly. Yeah, Todd?
So you're really deliberately rough style. So do you kind of plan everything out, or are you collaging? You're kind of putting these things, editing on paper, and then kind of get your thing on there, or you're like actually editing text inside a particular size of the piece? And
It depends. Like those ones, I had a size for those, but a lot of them will just start out and they'll kind of grow, and they'll start out as pieces of paper, and they'll the paper will kind of grow, and then I'll end up having to put them on a bigger piece of card, and then the whole thing just becomes sort of assembled as I kind of go. So I don't usually really plan. It just kind of evolves, you know. I mean, then the way I find it really hard to have like something clean and nice and new. So I tend to just use a lot of like the ones behind you, the bigger ones there. I started doing. I've got like a big sheet of paper on my drawing board, and I draw on top of it, and the paper underneath that gets really messed up, and I really like to use the paper that's really messed up underneath the paper that I'm drawing on, and that actually ends up being much nicer than the clean sheets of paper that I started to use. So that was kind of how a lot of that complex look came from just working on top of pieces of paper and then using the paper that was underneath.
Start with something dirty.
Right, yeah. It just creates really unusual, it creates stuff that you couldn't force yourself to make, but it looks really nice.
And the contrast between the really rough drawings that are like chat-like and
Yeah.
really amazingly crisp drawings. Like,
I know.
Matt and I were kind of conjecturing, are you using your left hand, or are you able to like?
I did use my left hand for a while. When I broke the right one, I was using the left one. But that was kind of weird. It was odd. And things came out better than I hoped they were going to come out. Actually, they actually came out quite good in some cases. So I didn't. I don't know. I kind of like. I like to mess. I try to mess things up sometimes deliberately, just because it gets too. I kind of get into a weird groove where I get And that's the part of being old. I think it's like you get really focused in trying to make something, and then I look back at it like, why did I try and make it look this good? And then I go and mess it up again, and just try and, I don't know, it's just part of the process.
I think he secretly farms work out to his son, Henley,
He's probably better than that.
just kind of feed it through his, and then messes stuff up for you a little bit.
When he was a little kid, I used to use his drawings all the time. I did used to use his drawings because you can't fake that stuff. You can't. I mean, you can't. It's amazing.
Well, we were talking about Scotland. How come we haven't sold any work to Scotland? What's going on?
I like some.
Yeah, we gotta.
Don't think it's
Do
funny.
they have internet over there?
It's not funny. I don't know. But there's a few pieces in Scotland, but they've all been like from to friends. I've never shown that. I've never shown anything. So. Oh, I did once in Glasgow, yeah. But it all came back again.
Yeah, maybe they don't find it amusing.
This is rubbish. What's this? Send it back over there.
The reason I asked is we sell a lot of David's prints and paintings and original works all over the world.
But no Scotland.
But no Scotland, yeah, all over Europe.
Yeah.
Germans seem to like Canadians.
Canadians.
They sell a lot of stuff in Canada. How that comes about? Australia.
Sort of like Jerry Lewis for us.
Yeah.
You're the exact
That's right.
Yeah. I guess so.
opposite of a Canadian.
That's probably why. But there are Scots in Canada.
There's a lot of Scots in
A lot of
Canada.
Scots.
Maybe Scots need to do that. I don't know.
Well, anything else?
No?
Well, thank you for coming out.
Yeah,
It's
thanks
been
a
a
lot.
pleasure. It's been a really great show and really successful. Thank you,
Wonderful
David.
work.
Yeah. So we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We'll be here till 7. You guys are welcome to hang out. Enjoy the shows. Have some more snacks, mingle, whatever you want to do. Please take yourself along. Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So turn this off.
Yeah.
Who asked the question? I wanted you to check your phone to see if there was a question.
It was Michaela.
Oh, was there a
Oh,
question?
you should ask them.
I don't think it was a question. Hold on.
He was just for us.
No, it's just it was Michaela's WR stuff as well. It was like an email.
But I didn't want to like say anything into it until I like double check.
Really?